out of our women's conference, the beginning of a new era, and I'm telling you, it was just amazing. The word of the Lord that came forth, but not just even the word, the fun, the games, the enjoyment, the fellowship that we had with one another. And these women just brought forth powerful, powerful words of instruction and just giving us just some really good things for what's coming ahead of us, the beginning of a new era in our life, and the closing of the past, that we can move forward in freedom, and it is just exciting. So we want to share with you what you missed, and I know many of you were not able to be there, so we want to bring it to you, and where you can just partake of it and enjoy and see what God is saying for this beginning of a new era.
Anointed to teach the Word of God in a practical way, Pastor Sherrell Bigham of Tabernacle of Praise Church in Seattle, Washington, equips the people of God with financial knowledge that will help them to become successful and live a debt-free life. God has given her the financial insight for the hour that we live in. Please welcome Pastor Sherrell Bigham.
I'm going to talk a little bit about hoarding. Okay? I'll talk about hoarding. So, of course, we know that when we start talking or when God gives us something, that it applies to us first. You know, and so we have to share, we have to clean out, or do whatever we need to do. So I'm going to read a couple of scriptures to you. Right. Exodus 16:19-20, it says, "And Moses said, let no one leave any of it till morning. Notwithstanding, they did not heed Moses." Okay, so we know what that's about. You know, that's about the manna. And so he said that he would supply the manna, right? And so we believe the word of God, right? He said, eat all that you need for today, and then get rid of the rest, and I'll supply more tomorrow, right? But we're scared that maybe that might not happen. Right. But he said it. That's true. So what happened? We kind of fell back into something, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Then Proverbs 2:3-2, it says, and put a knife to thy throat, if thou be a man given to appetite. I know, ouch, right? That's what I say. Okay, so I have a couple of things to say. I'm just going to put this here because I'm just so confused. I'm just going to go from my head. No, I'm not confused. Okay. Okay, so we're talking about hoarding for one thing, and so the first thing I'm going to talk about is food. So we see in Exodus where he said, get rid of it, but they start hoarding it. They kept it, and then what happened to it? It rotted, it molded, it turned bad. Worms, ants, you know, just I imagine all little creatures, little mice, rats. Has anybody ever watched Hoarding, channel 669? Yes. Okay, so that's the type of thing that I'm talking about. So imagine they're in the wilderness and this is happening. Can you imagine? You know, so that was a bad situation. And so what happened is they took their eyes off of God. They took their eyes off of what God told them, and they became greedy. They became greedy and they wanted more. And they're going to store it up because I can think better than Jesus can. I can think better than God can. There's more power in me. But I couldn't make food. I couldn't. There was all the nutrition that they needed was in that manna. Can you imagine? You know how there's different power drinks and different things that they try to make, that they still to this day, they try to put everything that we have need of in them, and then what happens? 2-3 years down the line, oh, that's not good for you anymore because this happened or that chemical was in it or something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and then they say it's diet, and you're putting more things in diet to make it diet than it's in the regular food itself. So we see continually we have a problem here. So with that, what happens, this is what I've seen that's happened in, I'll say, my household. We'll go to the store, we'll get groceries, we'll cook, we'll eat whatever, and then we put the remains in the refrigerator. I know good and well I don't really want that tomorrow, or I don't want it 2 days from now, but it feels better to put it in the refrigerator now and let it mold and turn into some bad manna in the refrigerator than to get rid of it. And then think about this. If I don't do that, then I've got a gluttony spirit because I keep eating it and then it makes me sick. So really, the inside of me turns into the worms and all of the stuff that they talk about in Exodus. It's inside of me. Because either way, I stored it and kept it too long and it goes bad, or it's in my body and it turns to bad. It turns to heart disease, it turns to diabetes, it turns to high blood pressures, it turns to all of these things that are not good for me, correct? So we have a problem. So that's why we are continually, because see, with addictions, Joy, a lot of times we can, you can stop the drugs or whatever, but you can't stop eating. To live, you have to eat. So what that's saying is we have to learn how to do that right, how to be proper, and how to be intentional about our eating, and to watch what we're putting in our mouth, what we're putting in our food. I know Jackie has some food allergies that she's had, so she has to watch what she's eating. I think maybe a lot of times if more of us take that and watch what we're eating, we would be better off. A lot of times I have not felt well, or I have been sick, not really from the food. I don't really think that ice cream makes me sick. It's when I overindulge in it. I don't know how to have just one scoop or a piece of it. If I just have that, I'm fine. But what happens is I eat too much of it, and the overflow's gonna go somewhere. It goes into sickness. It goes into the excess might go into the toilet, but you don't. All that you take in does not come out. So that goes in the form of sickness a lot of times, is what happens, so we have to be careful with that. The other way of hoarding is our minds. Our minds. Spiritually, we hoard at times. We take in a lot of Word of God. We're sitting here. There's a lot of us. And what if, we become like the disciples and we all go and take what we learned today and we take that out into the highways and the byways and into the, dark places, and we just share that with maybe 2 or 3 people apiece. But what happens is we're so busy trying to get home from here, we can't even talk to somebody who's new here, because either I'm talking to somebody I already know, I've got to share with my sister or with my brother, and I talk to them on the phone or text them every day. But I cannot go to that new person and see, hey, can I help you? Do you need a ride? Do you have enough food? Oh, you got delivered today. Is there anything I can help you with? Do you need a Bible study for that? Whatever the case. So we hoard in our minds a lot of times. And what happens is we become spiritually constipated. And so sometimes, okay, so we have hoarding. Do we have one for sadness and depression? Okay, so we have sadness and depression. First of all, do we know the difference between the sadness and the depression? Sadness is something that you just experience sometimes. Oh, I'm sad they didn't have the cookies I wanted at the store. And then I immediately forget about them, But this depression, that's a whole different, there's so many different types of depression. So again, as somebody said yesterday, I am not saying that if you need medication, you have gone to the doctor, maybe that's what you need. But a lot of times, some of this depression, it's us not coming out of ourselves. It's us not exercising. It's us not getting out, into the open air. Because, if you stay in a closed room, have you ever watched, what is that show? It comes on, it's Prisoners, and they're in these dark places. And I know there's this one location where the men can go outside, but because the facility was not made for men and women, the women have to stay inside, and some of them have been in. One lady said she had not seen the break of day for 3 months.
Wow.
For 3 months. How could you not be depressed? How could you not? So what is that telling us? We need sunlight. Number one, most of us, even Canada, because you're close to Washington, you're still, kind of like the Northwest. We do not have as much sunshine and daylight as a lot of other places have. So that leads a lot of times to depression. So if you know that, then it's possible you have to get some type of a daylight in your home. Daylight can be in the way of praise and worship. It can be in the way of getting outside when there is daylight. Yes, you go to work, but you do get breaks. And if you're not getting a break, then you need to see your HR people and see what the problem is. Because it is mandatory that you get a break. So there's a reason why you get breaks. Because you do need to get out from under what it is you're doing. Whatever type of job you have, you need to take a break. You've got to get up from the desk, from the table, whatever it is you're doing, because you have to, this brain is, God made it, and so it's wonderfully made, and it can regenerate. It can regenerate. But you got to catch it when it happens. You got to catch it maybe in this sadness phase. You cannot let it keep going. If you keep letting a sore go, it turns into other things. You go to the doctor, and then you might have to stay for them to drain it. You know what I'm saying? So you got to catch this. You see this? There's all of this stuff up here, and this is. These are things sometimes that we have where we've stuffed things in closets at home. Have you ever, I have a closet that I have, I just push the stuff in there and close the door really fast. Praying that things don't fall out. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we have to go through and clean those things out, because not only metaphorically speaking, those are things that clog you up and cause sadness, and then comes depression, and then sometimes you start getting mad at yourself. So sometimes you have to start getting rid of things. Be it in your mind, you have to get rid of things. Have you ever talked to someone, and I'm trying to hurry up because I don't want to take a lot, because I want you guys to go next door so you can have this experience. But have you ever talked to someone, and every time you talk to them, they say they're not upset or irritated with somebody that's did something to them or whatever, but they keep bringing it up. They keep bringing it up. And you're like, well, I forgave them. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And the sad thing about it, I remember Oprah Winfrey said this one time. She was upset with somebody, and she was on the bus, and she looked across the street, and it's like she thought about it, she was like, they are probably over there shopping in Tiffany's or wherever. They don't even remember that this happened. And I'm sitting here holding. You're hoarding it. You're hoarding it inside of yourself, which those types of bad feelings and bad vibes and all of that, they do lead to sickness and disease. It is a known fact. We have happy, what do you call those? Endorphins. We have those, It's shown that we do. So sometimes we have to go through, we talk about spring cleaning. And when you think about spring cleaning, you think about sunshine and light and room to move, right? And so sometimes, how many of us have room to move in our homes? How many of us have room to move in our spaces? I've been working on, well, my husband and I, but mostly him. We've been working on our garage. And you know, some of these cars now, when you start pulling in and they're too close to things, they start beeping. Because things are, baseballs are running out and all types of things are happening, you know, because they're not secure in the garage, or you just keep throwing things in there because it's maybe not a place that you're looking at all the time. So I was saying, well, you know, this is all your stuff, and he's like, no, you have some things in here too. And I'm like, well, then what are you going to do about it? You know, and I go, I give you, because I like to give dates of things because he likes that, you know. So you should have this all cleaned out by, you know, June 25th. And he's like, okay, well, when you get your stuff out, I'll clean my stuff out, you know. So the way I clean stuff out is a little bit different because I will clean stuff out. I will go to the Goodwill 3 times in a day to get stuff out. Because I can't think, I have, my brain, the way it works, when I would study, I would have to have things clean around me. Yeah. You know, I would have to get up off of my bed with my, what was it, Smith Corona typewriter, and I'd have to, because that's, you know, we didn't have a desk, so it would just be level with your knees on the bed. And so I would have to get off of that bed and clean around me in order to think. Yeah. So imagine if we just keep piling and piling things.